Hi, how are you? I love that we're now able to virtually see each other and also just have a really
I know, right?
I know. I mean, because otherwise we would be able to see each other, but COVID has, rained on our parade just a little bit. But super excited to be having this conversation with you as we talk about the power of Black media in this movement, right? Because here we have a company, a corporation, and Unilever and Dove, working with NGOs and working with businesses to come together. But what is the role of Black media in this, and why was it important for OWN and BET to support the Crown Act? Let's start with you, Shireen.
So I think the first piece to that, Ty, is that media is so crucial because it sets the agenda and the narrative of much of what we talk about. And the way that you can sort of normalize and humanize our experiences would be to show more of us and show our specificity, show our nuance, and that we are not a monolith. And with that comes the many aesthetics that we represent, all reflective of our culture, all reflective of our natural textures, our natural complexions, and celebrating that and showing that diversity of casting as well as stories. So I think that's the first piece. And I think in the last 10 years, we've seen a migration to more diversified expressions of what the Black female or Black male experience is in story and content. BET has been doing it, as we know, for quite a while, but mainstream media is starting to do it too. And OWN, where we are really all about reflecting authentic stories that show Black women themselves in their true nature, with authenticity, with accuracy. We show a myriad of hues, textures, styles, and we celebrate that. And so the more and more I think that moves to mainstream media, these hairstyles, these aesthetics will not be foreign, but rather really embraced as part of our mainstream collective. So that's the first thing I would say. And for OWN, unequivocally, when AC and Joy made the call, we said we have to support this because it's paramount for our audience. We're all about our consumers. And we recognize that they need to feel safe, they need to feel celebrated, and they need to feel comfortable in their offices, their children in their schools. And so it was truly a no-brainer. We had a meaningful dialogue, and we're continuing to celebrate it on the network and on our social platforms.
Thank you so much, Shireen. It made me just think about the first time that I remember seeing Janet Jackson on Good Times and Kim Fields on as Tootie on Fact of Life. And remembering, she had her hair in the mushroom on that, and then Janet Jackson had the two low plaits there, and what that meant.
And then the puffs.
Yeah, the puffs, exactly. And what that meant to me to actually see myself. I don't know if I've ever thought about it in that context before, but just the power of media personally as it relates to my hair in particular. Kim, same question for you. Tell us about why you decided to join the Crown Act, why BET decided to join the Crown Act, and the role that media plays in ending hair discrimination.
So first, just to build off Shireen's thoughts on the media, I fundamentally believe that we're not born with hatred or racism in our hearts, right? That is unfortunately something that's taught over time. And, the biggest thing that I think from a media standpoint is that unfortunately is probably one of the biggest perpetuators of hatred and racism, right? By basically the stories that we choose to tell, the images that we choose to show, and basically are reinforced by the images that we don't show, right? And so, you think about, Seinfeld or Friends. I mean, you're in New York. How many times have you seen a Black person on Seinfeld? Like, really? Like, you're in the most diverse city in America, and there are no Black images. And so I think, the media has a huge opportunity and a huge lift to do, quite honestly, in terms of bridging the gap, right? And I think for us, obviously, BET specifically was born out of that basic notion. I mean, Bob Johnson said, 40 years ago, that there was not a space that allowed us to just be, right? To be free and really kind of express all of that, who we were and the fullness of who we are. And so, for me, the media is so important. And I think, thankfully for networks like BET and OWN who are unapologetically serving this community is so important. I think for others, I think there's a real question that we have to ask, right? You want to show our rhythm, but you don't want to participate in the blues, right? And so, what are you doing to put more positive images, on the screen? Again, what does your writing room look like? What does your behind the scene crew look like? And so, for us, we are even stepping up. And even though that's our primary reason why we exist, but we're even stepping up, so we've just recently launched a platform called Content for Change. And, thankfully ViacomCBS has stood up as well. And so it's going to really hit all of our network sister networks in our portfolio. But the intent is to be even more intentional about working with content creators and makers to really bring us these amazing, unique stories that do just that, right? Like frame out the narrative, show more diverse stories, images, et cetera. And so it's just one thing that I think we're going to lean into. We want every person in the media space to sign the pledge to really sign up to support this. And so while we've, BET has already earmarked $25 million to support young content makers, that should be $1 billion, quite honestly. I think if all of the other media networks, really kind of, sign the pledge to support this, because it really is, I think, one of the, the imagery that's coming into your home on your screen every day, it really can start to kind of reframe the narrative.
It's so exciting just to think about, and Shireen, by all means, it's just so exciting to think about the fact that we are intentional at this intersection right now in time about creating content with a purpose, right? Content with a purpose, alignment with a purpose, partnership with a purpose, in order to really advance what's happening in our communities and the stories that we tell. Shireen, you were going to share something.
Well, I was just going to compliment what Kim said, because if you think about that, like our omission and our erasure from stories that have been iconic, in just our culture and the fabric of what we've seen on television in mainstream America, by design says our stories and our lives don't matter in fiction, and thus they don't in reality. And so as a result, if we have not been in the homes of white people who don't know our story, if we are not infiltrating animated series and part of things that children are seeing very early, if we cannot humanize and see that we have the same goals, same dreams, same hopes, and that come through with really rich and great storytelling that has the premium and rich investment behind it, to Kim's earlier point, then we continue to see marginalized sidekick characters and a monolith, which promotes the narrative that suggests a lot of what we're hearing being recited right now as to why this is, why Black people could be, or this is perceived as problematic, when we are just saying our lives actually matter. But right. You have not seen that in mainstream stories. So thus, again, that omission has been dangerous.
Right. I think it's just rooted in, fundamentally people believe what they see. Yeah. And, being from Atlanta, and I was just, it's funny. Every time I would travel, people would say, "Oh, are you from the Atlanta household?" And I was like, "No, I am not." That is, definitely a group of people from Atlanta, but all Black women don't show up, and are not, housewives of Atlanta. So, again, that is a piece, and that's definitely a part of our story, but that is not our total story, right? And so I think that is such a big piece to all of this. And Ty, I think I just remember seeing the story on Faith. The young lady who was, said that she could not attend school because of, her braids. And I called you, I called Kelly, I called
what can we do?
Yeah, because at the time I was with Shea Moisture, and I was just like, this is not right. And it just sat on my heart, just so heavy. And, we ended up having a conversation with her and her family, and just really just felt like we wanted to do something. So I am just so excited that, AC, in partnership with the Joy Collective, really championed this and just took it. And it's just amazing work that was just done in such a record, kind of breaking time. But, it was just something that, you see these things, and I think very similar to George Floyd, and they just don't leave you. And you have to say, I have to act, I have to do something. And so I think for all of us, we have an amazing group of friends, and I'm like, this is touching my heart, seeing my loved ones on the screen with me. But I think, for us, having a seat at the table is not enough if you don't have the power to really influence and really bring others in. And so, again, I'm just so proud of today, because I just really remember that, literally that first conversation.
And to that point, Kim, I'm just looking at the screen and recalling some of the images of later, just even how we are an example of that that radical kind of like showing up and performing and doing something in our differences, because we're not a monolith. You know, I'm looking at Shireen's hair, I'm looking at my hair, I'm thinking about Seymour's hair, I'm looking at your hair, and just even how by showing up, we're changing the narrative and being a part of a new type of storytelling, but in that also being active to perpetuate how the story is told forward through these types of partnerships with the Crown Act and the Crown Coalition. I think we have like 2 more minutes, but I would love to hear from both of you about how you have been involved with the Crown Act over the last year.
So we started off last year in July, right after AC, who is our, esteemed, C-suite leader that we all celebrate. But when the legislation was passed in LA or California, the team came to Louisiana, and it was during Essence Festival, and we hosted a celebration and truly just did a proclamation and a declaration that Owen was going to get behind this, but more importantly, that this act had just been passed. And we had all of our talent, from Queen Sugar to Greenleaf to some of our scripted series. And again, seeing that diverse fabric of beautiful Black talent, and really suggesting that in our own stories, in our own narratives, we were going to support that you would continue to see a diversity of hair, and you would continue to support that. We followed that up, and we had a town hall like series that took place in Atlanta. We had over 100 Black women in an audience. AC was a part of that, and it was sponsored by, Dove, and the whole conversation was about aesthetics and our confidence and our comfort in offices and in community, and how do we eradicate hair discrimination and beauty challenges based on it just sort of not being the universal norm. And then we've continued to show up in those programs that I've talked about, Queen Sugar, Greenleaf, and Kim talked about, sort of reality nonfiction TV, and some of our shows where, again, we reflect Black life, but without the need for a skew of extra drama just to get ratings, but rather just to really be honest. And so in Black Love, in addition to Love and Marriage Huntsville, Crown Act and Unilever have been there, and in environments where Black women are celebrated. So
thank you, Shireen.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. And so for me, I think my experience back with the Crown Act dates back to my time at Shea Moisture. But obviously, even transitioning over to BET, we've been great supporters. It's probably been integrated. Kelly and I were talking last night. It's probably been integrated in most of all of our tentpole shows, right? So I remember, Anthony Anderson talking about it at the NAACP Awards. We had really, strong integration. Even as part of, the most recent, BET Awards that ran last Sunday. It's actually running today on BET. Just a real, kind of shout out to the really recognizing the specialness of today. We're running lower thirds and obviously just trying to really just build awareness, right? Because for so many, it's like, well, what do you mean you would need legislation to be able to kind of talk about this? So we will continue to push. I think, for us, as part of, I think, our own sisterhood, I think we just show up for one another, even if I didn't have the formal platform of being able to reach, close to 75 million households, I would be out on my own, so I think that is just what we do. But it is so amazing to see the support across BET and OWN, whether, this cause and so many others. So it's a great day.
Thank you so much, ladies. I'm really just happy to see you.
I know.
Even more pleased to have this type of conversation.
I was texting Cherie last week. I was like, I need to talk to you and lay my eyes on you. I haven't seen you. We've been obviously communicating, but I'm just, yeah.
You all are hard at work because the mission right now is so incredibly urgent and crucial.
Yeah. I mean, I don't take anything away, but in the media this time, it's almost like we have been kind of essential workers. I mean, honestly, the stories that, everything is happening so quickly, and it's like going from, the pandemic to the revolution. I've been calling it a panolution because it just hasn't stopped, right? And so we went from COVID to this, and just standing up these stories and the importance of convening and talking about some very hard, subject matters. It's just, it's been nonstop. So I think we are both tired, or I know I'm tired.
Yes.
But listen, I love what you said, that we are all essential workers. Obviously, we honor our essential workers who are on the front lines, but we all have a role to play in this. And that's what is so palatable about the Crown Act and National Crown Day, is that we're celebrating our individuality, but we're also celebrating us as a collective. And even more with that, I want to thank you both. I'm happy to see you. I will connect with you all later, but it's good to see you